I cannot be the only one in absolute awe of the progress the Papaya boys have made to absolutely sideline the reigning champs and focus all of the spotlight on them. Like the sudden jump in performance from McLaren and the unimaginable dip for Red Bull we saw at Monza makes you stop and think there has to have been a transfer or some kind of super secret schematics or something between the two teams. It's almost as if the Red Bull team has done some naughty things internally and the overall focus of the team has switched from innovation to a power grab. And the internal genius that made the Red Bull an unstoppable trophy conveyor was lost and finessed by Zach Brown to join forces at McLaren. Oh wait.
No, brakes are for wimps.
Woo! My aim for today is not to overanalyze the source behind the sheer dominance of the F1 One Direction duo. Firstly, because I've done that already, and God knows I can keep on blabbering about the topic, insulting Sergio's performance and Max's weird-ass mug every other bit, but I think I should try to cover other topics as well. At least in every other video. But what I've now seen on and on in every race that we get to witness is that we seem to be in a two-horse race. Oh fuck, that came from the depths. Of course, Max is still the absolute champion and is yet to be dethroned by anyone from the Drivers' Championship for what seems like an eternity. I swear, the Dutch have not felt so much triumph since the fall of the Dutch East India Company. If you didn't get the joke, you've clearly not been to a business school lecture. Which means you haven't wasted 3 years studying for a pointless business degree, are not in debt up to your gills, and working a horrific office job you hate more than anything. And you also clearly haven't fucking seen Pirates of the Caribbean, you uneducated swine.
Oh my god, man.
So Max is still there, but barely hanging on, only because Lando has converted less fucking pole positions than I have blackjack wins. Charlie is also still in the mix, but he seems to just be living off of the leftovers that the big boys decide not to finish. Other than Monaco and Monza, of course. But those two are like a must-win for Ferrari. I'm starting to think Freddie's salary is tied purely to the performance of the team at these two races. And on these weekends, he decides to push his team to have 2-hour lunches instead of the regular 4, and promises an extra case of Peronis to the mechanics if they do a sub 5-second pit stop. Seems to be a good enough motivator. But other than these two gentlemen, the two-horse race I was really referring to was the Papaya brothers of Moscow. I said Moscow. How fucking high am I? If you take the current standings out of the equation and focus purely on what the state of the sport would be if we suddenly moved to next season, it seems that the decider would be between just these two guys. The rest can drive around and pretend that they're also competing for the same trophy, but in reality, just as delusional as the guy who signed Sargent to Williams. So today, I decided to try and figure out which one of these two would be able to eke out the win and finally bring the trophy home. Will it go to the clearly most handsome, talented, and deserving driver on the grid? Or will it go to Lando? Let's find out! But first and foremost, you should obviously review the lads based on their racecraft and ability to put that absurdly overpowered McLaren on the top of the podium. And when it comes to historical data, and we look at both of their junior careers, they are both absolute wonder childs. Unsurprisingly, both the Brit and the Aussie have done wonders going through their teens, smashing championship titles and outperforming their peers on the track. And judging by the pictures from when they were young, I would guess the championships were the only things they were smashing back then. But truth be told, when you compare these two, you have to give it to Piastri. He's, after all, the only kid to have competed, won, and become champion in 3 of the junior leagues consecutively. The boy literally rolled up to a new league, got in the car, and became champion. Next year rolled around, new car, new league, champion again. And then in F2, literally the step down from Formula 1, first year, first time in the car, world champ. It's almost like he went online and learned all the fucking cheat codes by heart. Downshift, upshift, turn right, gas, brake, and all of a sudden you get 100% in career mode. So talent-wise, it's really difficult to compete with my boy Oscar, since he's literally done what no one else has been able to do before him. A junior record Lando could only dream of. And no scooter sales of his dad's company could make up for that one. Another important characteristic that makes an F1 champion is, of course, consistency. And honestly, if you've had your eyes at least semi-open when watching the past few F1 races and hadn't dozed off by the second lap, you can tell which one of the two has this one in the bag. It seems that no matter what, Lando will f*** it up in the beginning. The only thing you can rely on more than Lando losing his pole position on lap 1 is Magnussen being picked up by the stewards within the first few corners of the race. Well, maybe not in Baku, huh? While on the other hand, consistency is Piastri's second middle name. The first one being Kimi, because he might as well be finished with the personality he has. Or rather, the fact that he doesn't really have one, does he? Oscar is a lot of things, but mate, he has to be one of the most boring drivers on the grid. He never shouts, never complains, never walks up and punches a driver in the mouth for trying to do a completely legitimate overtake on you during the race. Like, honestly, if he's gonna be a champion, he needs something to spice up his persona. I just hope he doesn't take inspiration from Hamilton, because God knows we've got enough fashionistas on the track. What is also clearly needed and important for becoming a champion in F1 is the driver's chemistry with the team itself. Like a good example of mechanic-driver chemistry is Mercedes. As soon as the team radio signal goes on, the team runs out to the pit lane by default. Bono doesn't even listen to Lewis's complaints anymore. He just pulls out a notebook labelled typical responses to an ED5-year-old and manages to calm Lewis down for at least the next 2 laps. But when it comes to driver chemistry at McLaren, I have to say, Lando has this one dead to rights. He just has a longer history with the team, to a point where he is their target driver for all of the new upgrades on the car. It is actually a bit absurd how Lando-sided the team is. Like, he's clearly the number 1 driver in the team. Now, don't get me wrong, not like a Ferrari number 1 driver, where one gets everything while the other one is tossed overboard at the first sign of trouble. McLaren always have Perez if needed, so no worries there. But for real, the bromance that is on between Lando and Zach is really almost unrivaled on the grid. I wouldn't be surprised if Zach had a tattoo of Lando's face somewhere hidden away from plain sight. I guess we'll have to wait until the McLaren nudie mag finally comes out before we get to see where it is. Good thing I've got it on pre-order for Christmas this year. And since I ran out of ideas for what other criteria drivers can be compared on, I decided that I should do what all other responsible employees with human lives dependent on their decision making do when they don't know an answer to a question. Ask ChatGPT. And what it gave me was physical and mental fitness. I just want to emphasize that this was in no way preempted or coerced. The higher power has spoken, and I can only comply. So we're sticking to this category, mate. Well, I can't tell you for sure who of the 2 Jonas brothers can bench more. Pretty sure Lando's stick hands would snap under the weight of the bar itself. Mentally, Oscar has this one fair and square. The boy has way less to prove, and so way less to lose than Lando. Not to mention that he has pure ice pumping in his veins. Whereas Lando, well, let's just say with every race, he's starting to remind me more and more of Leclerc from 2020. And that never ends well. Under my fully objective and totally unbiased assessment, I'm gonna have to give it to Oscar. So if you were wondering who to place your bets on for next season's championship and are willing to lose all your life savings, you should... Okay, I'm not gonna give any betting advice. But you know what I'm betting my mortgage on. But to be honest, who cares about the championship at the end of the day? Like, seriously, Lando still has 5 times the amount of fans of Oscar and makes so much more dough, both on and off the track. Like, from selling his go-karts, or selling his daddy's scooters, or all the other weird shit he's put under his Green Cube brand. I swear, he's got too much f***ing time on his hands. He literally owns an esports team, a gaming YouTube channel, and sells socks for £20 a pair. No wonder he keeps losing to the Aussie. Who buys socks for £20 a pair?